Alright, today we're going to show you all the different things you can use in your fall patio pots. A lot of people think that there aren't that many options for fall color and fall plants, but there's a ton. The number one heavy bloomer for this time of year is going to be pansies and violas. They come in many colors and they do great in cool weather. Alright, another great plant for fall plantings, pots and beds, is cabbage. Now, there are 3 different colors and 2 different kinds. This one is a pigeon cabbage. It's great. It has a little bit of color, but also a different texture. We also have them in a larger size, and we have kale. Another great thing is mustard. This is a red giant mustard. Gives a great purpley bronze color, fills out and gets fairly large, but it's also edible. This little plant here is Dusty Miller. It's soft, has a nice little white to gray foliage, gets fair sized, about 1 foot or 2 tall. Also a great texture to soften up a patio pot. And then there is Dianthus. It comes in a few colors. It's really nice if you do not like fall colors. Not everybody likes the fall colors, so if you want to do something a little more feminine or a little brighter than the basic fall colors, this is also a good pick. Blooms heavily and will also get you totally through the fall. Alright, so when you're making your fall containers, also take into consideration a broad spectrum of perennials. We have a few here to show you. This one is a variegated sage. It is very bright. It is a good bushy little plant. Will also get you through the fall, but it'll brighten up your pot. And it adds texture. Another good one is porabels. So these come in a lot of different colors. There's purples, reds, copper colors, greens, and they will do wonder in your pot. They add a different texture, a different color, and they will go through the winter. Alright, for some more texture and some height, grasses are always great. This one is called Piglet. It's a little pitacetum grass. It'll put off its little cattails. If you don't want to use the grass for your height, you could always go with a lovely little snapdragon. They will do good tall blooms. They'll give you a little bit more color than a grass and a slightly different texture. So the number one option most people think of are mums. Now we have big ones like this, but we also have 3 other sizes to fit whatever size pot that you need. So now you've got your medium-sized plants and your larger plants. Now you need your filler or your spiller. Some really good perennial ground covers for that are going to be Creeping Jenny. It's a heavy trailer. It's easy to care for, sun or shade. Another one that could do either or is a Juga. Got a great fall color. Will put off a little tiny purple bloom. It will also trail if you put it in a pot. Now there's a lot more options. That's something really you could use just about any ground cover for. For large pots and some different texture options, you can always use shrubs. We've got a couple here that do really well this time of the year. One, this dark purple, is Loropetalum. If you want some evergreen texture, you could always do something like a yew or various other kinds of evergreens. This little guy is a Bilia, gives a little bit of fall color in its blooms, or if you don't want to do any of that, you could also add in a large pumpkin stack. So now that we've shown you the different colors and textures and plants you can use to make your fall pot, we're going to go ahead and make one today. First thing you want to do is pick your pot and fill it with some good potting soil. Westwood has some really good potting soil. And then you're going to choose a fertilizer. Today we're going to use Osmocote, slow release. Shake some of that in your pot. Don't be afraid to get too much. And then today we're going to use a few different plants. We've chosen a really great grass for some color and texture called zebra grass. It's got some good yellow and green blades, and it has obviously some really nice tassels. So we're going to use this as our height and our main structure of our pot. We're going to dig it out, pop it in there. Make sure it's in there good and tight. Alright. And the next thing we're going to do is a mum. This one's called Dazzling Stacy. It's good fall color, orange and yellow. We're just going to nestle that in beside the grass. Break up the roots a little bit on the mum. You might have to spin your pot so you can get to it. wedge him in there. Mums are also perennial. They'll bloom until the first frost on average, or freeze, depending on your area. But you can also plant them in the ground later if you like. Dress up a flower bed. I'm going to add a little bit more soil. Alright. So, the next thing we're going to add to bring in some of the darker color in the pot is a nice ornamental cabbage. This one's purple. These will also go until the first hard freeze at least, sometimes a little further. Put him in the front. Can't be afraid to mix and match your colors or your plants. And you always want it to be good and full. So, alright. So you can see, I'm going to turn it a little bit. So we plan on putting a pumpkin right here, just to add a little bit of fall, maybe a little bit of Halloween spirit to the pot. So over here, I'm going to put another mum. I think I'm going to choose red this time to bring in another color. Little daisy mum, just like the Dazzling Stacy on the other side. Just patch it in right there. Now, another color I'd like to bring in there is something to soften it up just a little bit. And for that, I'm going to use Dusty Miller. It's got a nice soft gray foliage. Gets pretty tall, so it'll get up to about right here. And this typically will always go through the winter. Now that varies depending on your area, but I want it to be really good and full. So I'm going to put it right in here. I think I'm going to use 2 instead of 1 for some instant gratification. Okay, so we've got our Dusty Miller in, and since we're going to put a pumpkin right here, I'm going to go ahead and make the pumpkin a little bed. That way we also have a spiller coming off the side of our pot. We're going to use Creeping Jenny. It's a really good perennial, does sun or shade, and it trails very well. So I'm going to stick that right there. This also helps too, further on in the season, if you lose your pumpkin or you want to change it out for a different season, the Creeping Jenny will fill in this gap where the pumpkin was. So, got a little pie pumpkin. That's the pumpkin we're going to use. And in order to get it in there, you wash it off. I'm going to flip it over, and I have these real basic skewers. You can buy them at the grocery store, at Walmart, wherever. And I'm going to take the pointy side. I'm going to slowly punch it into the pumpkin, little ways. And this pumpkin's got some weight to it, so I'm going to use 3, just to make sure he doesn't roll out. And that will secure him into the pot. Alright, now that I've got him in there, I'm just going to push back my plants and slide him in. And that just gives him a little anchor so that he will stay in there when you water and a good wind gust so he doesn't come out. I'm Kat with Westwood Gardens. Have a good time planting up your new fall pots.